Yeah, this is Martin Kelly, and I'm here discussing the JFK case with Matt Douthit. Is that how we say your name?
Douthit. Like,
Douthit.
yes.
Okay. And he is opposed to some of my ideas on the JFK case.
Can you give me some examples on why you think, first of all, I would take issue with it?
I have no idea.
Well, you should know. You should know the
Well,
other.
you said he was a urologist.
You should,
That's where I stopped with your video.
I think you should know the other person's opinion. I think you should know the other person's arguments. So could you
Well,
list?
let's hear it. Let's hear it.
Could you no? Could you list like maybe one thing that you think I would take issue with the single bullet theory?
No, I have no idea. It seems obviously
Really?
true to me. Why? How would
Really?
I know? I don't know what you think about it. I know
Really?
yes.
You
I've not
don't.
heard you say anything about it.
You can't think of one reason why I would object to it. Now let's start from the beginning. We have a wound in Kennedy's back. Okay.
That's wrong.
So first we have a wound in Kennedy's back.
It's in
Okay.
his neck.
The word is the upper posterior thorax.
Yes.
The upper posterior thorax, not cervical, thorax. Okay. Where did the FBI, what was their,
That doesn't mean it's in the middle of the thorax. It means it's at the border of the thorax. That's between T1 and C7.
where did the FBI describe that wound as in their report? They're standing 2 feet
I
from
don't care about the FBI report. They were not the autopsy doctors. So I don't care about what they say. They could say anything.
They were
That's
2
not
feet
evidence.
from the body. Where did they, and they're
I'm
taking,
not answering that because they didn't do the autopsy. The autopsy guys located it.
okay,
They probed it.
they're taking notes down on everything the autopsy
Doesn't matter, Matt. That's not evidence for me. What's evidence is what the autopsy says.
They said we're taking notes on everything that the autopsy doctors are saying during the examination.
The autopsy gave a report. I don't need to look at the FBI notes.
Can you tell me where the terminology they used to report the back wound?
I'm not telling you anything, no, because it's not evidence.
Okay, they said
Observation.
okay, they said
The
below
autopsy tells you where it is. And
okay,
the X-rays and the discussion of the X-rays with HSCA tell you where it is.
okay.
Okay. And the elevation of the elbows tell you where it is. Okay. And the nick in the pleura tells you where it is. And the nick in the lung tells you where it is. And the air bubbles in the trachea tell you where it is.
I'm kind of jumping ahead. Okay, so just for the audience, the FBI said it was below the shoulders, but let's move on.
That's
So
why they didn't do the autopsy.
yeah, so we have a wound in the back. Okay, how many inches was it below the base of the skull, which they measured it right here? How many inches below the base of the skull?
I've already told you where the entrance wound was.
No. Can you tell me how many inches below the base of the skull that they measured it?
The measurement that the autopsy doctors gave is variable, so you can't rely on it.
No. In their autopsy report, they said it was. Do you know how many inches below the base of the skull it
14 inches, 13 inches, doesn't matter.
You don't know?
I don't keep that in my head. 14 inches. It's 14 inches.
No, it's 14 centimeters.
You have an entrance wound around C7. Okay? That's what you have. That's where the disturbance in the X-ray is.
So the problem is that we have a rib. It would have, if the bullet had entered right where the autopsy measurements place it, it would have gone right through the first rib. And Pat Spear has proven that.
No, that's not correct at all.
Okay.
It's not correct at all. Pat Spear hasn't proven anything.
Do you agree with the measurement that the HSCA placed it on their diagrams right here?
I don't remember where they placed it.
So do you agree that this is the correct location on the left? This is where the HSCA placed it.
It's close to it. I mean, it's C7.
Actually, it's T1 right here. Actually, it's T1 pretty much. It's T1. So if you overlay right here and you go on the right, it goes right through the first rib. You see it right there? If you draw the ribs around it, it draws, see, they omitted the ribs around it, but if you insert the ribs around it, you see on the right, it would have gone right through the first rib.
Listen. The Kennedy's posture is rounded.
So you're saying that you don't accept this, even though the ribs around clearly indicate
it don't clearly indicate anything about Kennedy. They clearly indicate whoever is the model for this thing.
So you, okay, so
Connally Kennedy is bent over, okay?
So you don't accept this, right?
Accept what?
The diagram on the right, is that correct?
I don't accept it as a diagram of Kennedy, of course not.
Okay, okay.
There's a term that the medical profession uses called buffalo hump for people who are on cortisone, okay? This is mentioned in Latimer, which is your bailiwick. Kennedy had a buffalo hump. And so that the entrance wound in the skin is higher vis-a-vis the cervical nerves and the cervical vertebrae than it appears to be on the outside of the skin. And that's very simple. And that's in Latimer as well.
So you agree with Latimer that Kennedy was a hunchback, so to speak, right?
I didn't say it was a hunchback. He had a buffalo hump. It was in one particular area. This is a medical, it's documented medically. It's in the literature. You can Google it today.
So you agree with Latimer that he had a big hump on the back of his neck? Is that true?
He didn't have a big hump. He's got a rounded area from cortisone use. Okay, period.
So you think Kennedy had a hump on the back of his neck? Is that correct?
I didn't think he had a hump. No, I think he had a bulbous upper back that was rounded. Okay.
Okay.
Hump is, I mean, it is from cortisone. The technical jargon is buffalo hump, okay? And so I wouldn't want to call him a hunchback or a humpback or anything like that because he doesn't look like Igor in Frankenstein, okay?
Right.
So I'm trying to be very precise about this.
Latimer always said that the wound was at the level of Kennedy's chin. Do you agree with that? The back wound. Do you agree with that?
I don't know anything about the chin. Chin has nothing to do with this.
Well, that's what Latimer said.
It has nothing to do with this. Doesn't matter what
his articles.
he said or not. He doesn't have to be right about that.
He said the wound was not here. He said it was higher than the Warren Commission. He said it was not in the neck. He said it was at the level of Kennedy's chin. Now, do you accept what Latimer says there?
No, because I don't think it has anything to do with the chin.
So you don't agree. So you don't agree with Latimer when he said it was at the level of Kennedy's
chin? I didn't hear him say that. Never saw it.
I can pull up article after article.
I'll take your word for it. Okay.
So he was wrong on that. So he was wrong on that.
I don't know whether it's correct or not because I can't see it. Do you understand? And I've not measured it because it's irrelevant. Okay.
Like I said,
the bullet exits below his chin. So he may be right, he may not be right. It has no causal force in this argument.
But Latimer said when he saw
it has no causal force in this argument. You can say it 10 times.
This is what got Latimer into the case. He said he saw.
Doesn't matter.
It's
not part of the logical structure of the argument.
This is what we're starting with. We're starting with the neck back wound, and this is what Latimer said.
Starting with the neck is not starting with the chin. What are you talking about? What's the chin?
Latimer said in article after article that actually the Warren Commission had it too low, that it was actually higher at the level of the chin. Now, do you accept what he said there?
I already gave you my answer.
Okay.
I have no idea whether it's correct or not.
Okay.
What it is, it's going to be here at T1 where the HSCA has it, or it's going to be a little bit higher where the X-ray damage shows. Latimer puts it in the C6, C7 range, and that seems a little bit more accurate to me. These X-rays are not perfectly clear because they didn't do official X-rays. They did portable X-ray machine because they weren't there to do a full body of X-rays for the autopsy. They were there to find the bullet. And so this makes no difference whether it's at T1 or at C7. It's certainly no lower than T1.
So I don't really think I heard a straightforward answer. Do you not agree with the left one that the HSCA plate where they place the back wound?
It's accurate enough.
It's accurate enough, okay, but you don't accept that it would have smashed through the
Yeah,
first,
of course not, because it didn't.
even though it. No. I'm saying that had it traversed the body, we haven't established yet that it traversed the body. I'm saying had it gone all the way through, it, you can see right here how it would have smashed the first rib.
Is that Kennedy's rib?
What do you mean?
Is that Kennedy's rib on the right that you pointed to?
No. This has been superimposed on where the ribs would have
No, I
been.
understand. So therefore, who could say? Why would that represent Kennedy's physiognomy? It doesn't.
Because the HSCA did not draw the ribs around it. Had they done it, it would have gone right through the bullet would have had
Not
it.
if they drew Kennedy's ribs around it. Are these Kennedy's ribs dripped in here?
We're talking about anatomy. If you just put the
We're
ribs
talking about Kennedy's anatomy.
if we put the ribs where they always are in.
No. You don't know anything about this. That's a problem. Listen, these ribs could be up or down with respect to anybody's body, depending upon the whole bunch of features, all kinds of somatic features. It depends on how tall you are, how short you are, what kind of body you have, ectomorph, mesomorph, what, it doesn't matter. So the notion that Pat Spear has that the ribs are going to be in the way necessarily is just nonsense. It's untrue.
So even though he put it exactly where the ribs would be, as the
You have not put it where the ribs would be in Kennedy. You have not shown that that's where they would be in Kennedy.
Okay, so you just don't accept this part.
Except what?
The diagram on the right, is that correct?
I accept it for a diagram of where somebody says the ribs might be on a particular person. Okay, just not Kennedy.
So you don't accept that it would have gone right through Kennedy's rib had it
Of
traversed.
course not.
Okay, that's fine. I think we should have talked about the trajectory. I think that's the first thing that we should have talked about. Do you agree? I think we can find agreement right here that the trajectory would have been 17 degrees down.
Something like that, whatever it was 7 in that area. Yeah.
Okay, it's cool.
Yeah.
So we have an 11 degrees upward
You
line.
don't have an 11 degrees upward. You've got a miscalculation. There's no 11 degrees upward.
So from the back to the neck.
Trachea in Kennedy is lower than this point, sir.
So here we have Mike Bodden demonstrating.
Yeah, I've already talked with him about this. He's wrong.
So you think Michael Bodden's wrong about how there was an upward line from an 11 degrees upward line, the back to the front?
He's wrong about the Kennedy bending over. Okay, period. Okay.
So you think he's wrong? Okay. So we haven't established yet that a bullet went through the torso. Why do you?
Of course I did.
Why do you think a bullet went through his torso?
Because because there's disturbance of the tissue and some particles to the right of the cervical area of the spinal cord. That there's a nick in the pleura, there's a nick in the lung. There are air bubbles in the trachea, and the shirt fibers in the front are splayed away from the body, and the wound in the front shirt is an exit wound, a cloth shot through, unshored on the exit side. Standard forensic science.
Okay, so the Clark panel, for those listening, the Clark panel in 1968 determined that there were, quote, several metal fragments in the X-ray of JFK's neck. That's their term, several metal fragments. Now, Latimer, in 1972, in his article in 1972, in his press conference, after he viewed these materials, he said that they were metal fragments. Okay. But later on, he said that they were bone fragments. So which is it? Are they bone fragments?
I don't know. There you got three or four different analyses by experts at HSCA, and they waffle back and forth about bone fragments. Excuse me. They waffle back and forth about whether it's bone fragments or metal fragments, or whether it's at C7 or C6 or T1. Okay. So listen, these are not first-class X-rays. Okay. So there's no way to tell.
So
The
then,
the only way not to use them as evidence is to think that this has been manipulated and that there's a paranoid view going on here. That, well, it can't be the way the Warren Commission said it or the way the HSCA said it. So therefore, you take up all these different kinds of reports about people who are looking at, it's like looking at a dull film. And, they have to guess in some cases because we're looking at small particles and we're looking at less than state-of-the-art X-rays. I mean, this is standard epistemology. Okay, there's nothing puzzling about this.
okay, so then the HSCA comes along and they said, "Oh, those aren't metal fragments; those aren't bone fragments. They're just artifacts on the X-ray."
Well, so that's not true. Some of the guys who did the thing say that bone fragments was fragments.
Okay,
I've
so
been
now
through
we
it
have
10 times. I don't put it to memory because there's a disturbance there. A
Okay,
bullet went through there. Okay.
so the Clark panel says several fragments in the neck. Latimer comes along in 72, says they were metal fragments from the bullet. Then later, Latimer says they were bone fragments, and then the HSCA says that they're just artifacts on the film. But some other panels, some other
No,
members.
no, no. There's testimony in HSCA
I was
from
just
one
about
of
to
the
say that. I
radiologists.
was literally about to just say
Yeah,
that HCA report says that it's just artifacts on the film, but there were other members who said, "Oh yeah, they are fragments." So really, we have about five different options here.
What's the problem with that?
I'm saying that
What is the problem with that?
these people can't come to a conclusion as
Of
to.
course not. Why not?
I have no idea. But what I'm saying is we have five
You
different.
think the X-rays were done by the best X-ray equipment at Bethesda? Yes or no?
I have no idea. I've spoken with Ed Reed, who assisted with the X-rays that night, but that's beside the point. If I could get my question out,
Not to be said, it is the point.
so we have five different, 4 or 5 different options. About what's in what the X-ray shows on the net? Which one do you think is correct?
The option that I choose is one that all of them say. Okay, the same thing that all of them say. Something disturbed the tissue near the spinal cord. Period.
Okay.
Va bene?
All right. Okay. Why do you think that I don't accept that a bullet traversed the torso? Can you give me just like 1 or 2 reasons?
Well, because you believe there's a conspiracy. That's why.
No, no.
Well, you have to, otherwise you'd accept this evidence.
No, based on what was seen during the night of the autopsy, the examinations, and what everyone said that day, why do you think that I don't believe a bullet traversed the torso?
I have no idea. I've just shown you the proof.
Well,
I don't know.
I think you should get informed about what the other side thinks.
I know exactly what you think. Let's hear it.
You know what I think?
Tell it.
Let's say.
Well, tell us then.
Okay.
Why are you playing games?
I think because of the probing, how they probed the back wound and it didn't go anywhere, it just went into the skin just a little bit. I think that CE399 lodged in Kennedy's back and fell out somewhere, whether Paul Landis found it or not, that's a whole other thing. But from all the available evidence, what was seen that night during the examination and what the FBI reported that night, I personally think that as do a lot of people, that the CE39, that the bullet lodged in Kennedy's back, went in just a little bit and fell out somewhere. I think that was
okay. That's good. That's good. I'm glad you said that. Okay.
I think that was from a
so it went into flesh and didn't go in deep enough, and then was worked out during the heart massage. Was that your argument?
I wouldn't say during the heart massage. I'm not sure when it would have fallen out, whether it was in the car, whether it was something else, but I think it was I think it was fired at low velocity, whether it was from bad powder.
Why is the bullet damaged then?
Why is the bullet
I asked you first. Why is the bullet damaged?
I think it's damaged because it went into the back, and I think it.
How does the soft tissue of the back produce that kind of damage?
I think that the minute damage to the bullet accounts for.
There's no minute damage. What do you mean minute? What does minute damage mean?
I think the minute damage to the bullet.
What does minute damage mean?
I would say it's flattened just a little bit. The nose is completely intact. The bottom is damaged from the firing pin. I think that the
bullet is crimped on its back half. okay?
Yes.
So that if you look at the butt end of it, it's not a circle, but in fact, it's an oval, okay?
Yes.
And
yes.
you can see that damage is along the back half of the bullet along its longitudinal axis. You want to call that minute? I don't want to call it minute. I want to say half of the bullet has been crimped, okay? Okay, there's no marks on the bullet that it was put in a vise and crimped, okay? So it had to hit something to get smashed that way, okay? And it didn't get smashed that way by going into Kennedy 2 or 3 inches and soft flesh and then falling out because it had low power, okay? And so your position is completely without evidence, and it's analytically nonsense.
I think that the amount of damage that's on CE-399 can account to a bullet going into the body but not exiting.
What did it hit that crimped it?
I think it went into the back and possibly could have gone as far as the intercostal muscles and bruised them, but I don't think
The muscles are not going to crimp the bullet, Matt. Why isn't CE-399 the bullet that went through Kennedy?
Because the Discovery Channel in 2002 reenacted everything perfectly. They got the angle right of the street right. They got the angle from the gun to body right. They rebuilt the dimensions of the car. They got the measurements right. They got the same ammo from the exact same kind of lot, exact same kind of rifle, everything. They reenacted everything to a T, and the bullet exited Kennedy's chest.
You notice that there's no buffalo hump in this model?
The buffalo hump.
You can laugh all you want,
was
mother, but
debunked.
you don't know what you're talking about.
Yes,
That's
I
the
know
problem.
exactly what I'm talking about. How Latimer thought that because of the steroids that
I've seen it in the photos of Kennedy.
he had a hump on the back of his neck. I get it, but listen, they reenacted everything.
Where's the hump here?
Okay, so what they did
Where
was
is the hump here? Answer the
there's
question.
no hump because Kennedy wasn't a hunchback.
I didn't say it was a hunchback. That's your
He had
term.
a hump.
He has a buffalo hump from cortisone. Okay.
So what do you think about the bullet, about the wound not penetrating the chest or going through the front at autopsy? They could not probe it forward.
Because the strap muscle went across into the path.
The strap,
You-
there are no strap muscles in the back.
There are muscles across the back. Okay, the big,
No,
wide, broad muscles. Okay,
It's one muscle. It's the trapezius muscle. There's no strap muscles.
There are strap muscles inside the body. Okay, and they're long muscles and wide muscles in the back, and they probably block the path. Okay, all right, but they did track it. I mean, that's exactly why.
This is where our inspector got critiqued on when he was taking the testimony of Dr. Gene Aiken. He tried to spew, the slip between the strap muscles in the back, and Dr. Aiken was like, "Sir, there are no strap muscles in the back. It's just one." I mean, I can open up an anatomy book right here, and as you can see, it's just one muscle, the trapezius muscle. There is no strap muscles.
These striations are called straps by some people. It's no big deal. The point is,
What you're thinking of are the strap muscles described as being bruised in the front of the neck, right here. That's what you're thinking about, or you're thinking about.
I'm just going by what
I'm
going by what the testimony was. That's all. What I saw in testimony. I'm not sure what your objection is. What
So
you don't think a muscle got in the way?
So the bullet entered, around,
Were
here
these muscles? Listen, were these muscles in the way of the finger or not?
in the way of the finger. What are you getting at? What are you talking
Did
about?
they block the finger or not? Why didn't the finger go in further?
It didn't go in, and the probe didn't go in because the bullet had lodged in the back. There's no evidence at all that a bullet.
Listen, if there was just a
Correct.
hole, listen, Matt, if there was just a hole there, I'm using your diagram now and your science. If there was just a hole there, don't change it. Leave it up.
Hold on, I'm trying to pull. Go on.
Leave it up. Leave it up. if there was no bullet, but just a hole, okay?
Yes.
And they tried to probe it, okay? Let's say the hole went up as far as this muscle here, okay? All right. And somebody stuck their finger in and struck a probe in. Would the probe be stopped by this muscle?
Would it be stopped by no? If there's a track, it would have gone all the way
No,
through.
I didn't ask you that. I didn't say a bullet. You're not listening. This is
I
a
said
thought.
no.
This is
I
a
said no,
thought
sir.
experiment.
No, I said no.
You,
Oh, you said
why wouldn't this muscle prevent the probe? Hit the probe.
no. I have no idea what you're asking me. What are
I'm
you?
saying that the muscle, if there was just a hole in the back, and we don't know whether a bullet had gone through or not, okay?
Okay.
And we put our finger in there, and we found that our finger went in 4 inches and then stopped.
Yes.
It would be stopped by this muscle, right?
No, there would have been if there's a bullet track.
There's no bullet track. There's no bullet track. There's a hole. It's a thought
Oh,
experiment. You're big on
thought
thought
experiment.
experiments. Yes, there's a
Hole.
hole. Okay, and I put my finger in the hole. Okay, and will it be stopped by this muscle?
If there's no track and if there's just a hole, just in the skin.
Yes,
just
yes,
outside,
yes.
Well,
yes.
of course, but of course.
Okay, good. Now let me ask you a question. Will this muscle stay in exactly the same position when Kennedy is alive, as opposed to when he's dead, when he's sitting in the seat, or whether he's on the autopsy table? Yes or no?
I know where you're going with this. No.
No, don't ask. Just answer the question. Would this muscle have shifted at all?
Yes. Had there been a track there, it would have gone all the way through at the front.
Not if the muscle shifted between the time he lived and died.
Okay.
Period.
So
Whether you call it a strap muscle or not doesn't matter.
what do you think I'm about?
This is your muscle. You have it right up here. This is your muscle.
What do you think I'm about to say?
I don't know. I'm not a mind reader. You keep giving me, what am I, telepsychic here? Come on.
Okay. So if you read the interviews of the people who were actually there, they said they sat the body up, they moved the arms and the back around trying to get the probe. It's exactly what you said, and this is what a lot of low nutters.
I don't know. That's not in the autopsy. I read all that stuff originally.
Well, we're talking about the
40
people
years
who were
ago.
actually there.
I do know something that in fact these muscles are not in the same condition when the man is dead as the when he's alive. I know that, and I know that they contract and expand when he's alive, and they don't when he's dead. That they're harder when he's dead than when he's alive, and that the idea that they haven't shifted position seems obvious. It seems to be wrong. They must have shifted position because they cracked the wound. They saw the nick of the pleura. Okay, the shirt fibers in the front are an exit wound. I mean,
I agree. I agree that whatever whatever came out of the throat pushed those fibers in, but we're getting ahead of ourselves. But what I'm saying, for the sake of the audience, is that at the autopsy, they didn't just stick the probe in and say, "Oh, it doesn't go anywhere. Okay, let's give up." No,
I don't know where you get that from.
These are from the HSC interviews, which were sealed for 50 years, and they tumbled out after the Oliver Stone film during the assassination records.
Oh, yeah, of course. Yeah.
The
government was trying to hide it from us. Yeah.
No, I'm not saying that. That's what happened. They were classified and then they tumbled out. So they said that it's not that they just stuck the probe in and there's okay, let's give up. No, they sat the body up, they moved the arm up, they because exactly of what you said, how things can change and everything like that. It's not the body is not a block of styrofoam.
What's the diameter of the bullet?
Hold on. I'm almost done.
What's the diameter of the bullet?
We're changing subjects. Let me get away. So
it's the same subject.
Hold on just a
second. How big is the hole?
Just a second. So they tried it to put the body as it was, and they set the body up, and it still didn't go through.
Because the hole is so small. What's the size of the hole?
7 millimeters.
6.5 millimeters.
Okay? No, it's 7 millimeters. That's the diameter. That's right in the autopsy report. The back one was not 6.5. It was 7 millimeters. It was described
that doesn't mean that the track is 7 millimeters.
It was described as an oval wound, sir. Here, let me put.
That's because it went in at an angle. But when it goes into solid tissue, it's no longer going through different planes. It's going through everything in the same plane, so it's round. It's round.
Okay. So what I also want to what I also
You
want to
don't
talk.
understand that point, do you?
Yes, I heard what you said. So listen,
No, you don't understand the point.
what's the
Why
point?
is it slightly ovoid in the skin in the back, and why would it not be ovoid in solid flesh?
I don't care.
Well, you don't know. Is that why you don't
I
care?
don't care about that. Everyone agrees he was hit. Everyone agrees a bullet hit him in the back, sir.
We're
There's
talking
nothing
about the size of the hole that's in the muscle now, which is
that
what you're
doesn't
calling.
matter because
It does matter. It's the point.
everyone agrees
They
he
can
was
search.
hit.
They might search for 10 hours and not find the hole because it's so small. It's
Everyone
2.5 millimeters.
everyone agrees that he
Yeah.
got hit in the back. So there's nothing to argue about that. We're talking about now, we're going to go back to talking about the track through the body. So I think I think right here is absolute proof that the bullet did not traverse the body. And I want to pull up an image right here. It's a pretty odd image that I made, but it really gets the point across. Okay, so let me finish when I say this. So Dr. Fink is behind JFK's body, sticking a trajectory probe into the back wound. An autopsy technician, Jim Jenkins, is in the front of JFK looking down into the open body and sees the indentations from the other side. Had a bullet gone through the body, there would have been a hole there. There wasn't, which means the bullet lodged in his back and fell out. And I think this is 1,000% proof that the single bullet theory didn't happen, because if you can't get it through Kennedy's
Your
body,
point is completely false. Your
no,
point is
it's not.
completely false.
So you see
It's
the
completely false.
hold on. So you see the back in the front right here. Here's an image I made. This image. Here's a hand that is pressing on a mattress, and on the other side, on the front, you can see the indentations right there. You see, from the other side. Here's the back. Here's the front. You
Yeah,
see.
I know. This is like for
Okay. Okay.
truck stop
So
demonstration. Yeah.
okay. So Dr. Fink is sticking the trajectory probe in, and Jim Jenkins, who was looking down on the front, looking down into the open, who was looking into the body from the front, he sees the indentation of the probe right there, like that. You see, just like
No,
the
I understand. So what?
so had the bullet traversed the body, there would have been a hole there, and the probe would have gone, and he would have seen the
This
probe.
is a this is a self-contradictory statement. You've
No, it's
contradicted yourself.
no, it's not.
Listen, listen. What he sees is the finger pushing against the muscle where there's no hole. Okay, if the hole is shifted, and it doesn't have to shift much because it's only 6.5 millimeters, then of course he's going to see the muscle and the tissue move.
No, we're talking about no,
You're saying that they
talking about
tried
the
to
door
find a
cavity.
hole, and by probing, they couldn't find a hole, and therefore they looked on the other side and they saw that there was no hole. But
Exactly.
it doesn't account for the fact that the muscle is shifted. Period. Very
No, okay, so with that in mind, I'm going to read you
this is
what Jim Jenkins says. No,
Jim Jenkins.
Stephen.
I read this. I've read all of this stuff.
Okay,
I
so
try not to clutter my mind with it. I'm too. It's just it doesn't help anything. It's not causal, okay? Because when you get down
okay,
to the analytics of it, you don't look at basic analytics, and that's the problem. If the hole has not been reached by the probe, then there's no reason why Jenkins should see the friggin'
it
hole.
says right here,
What does Jenkins say about the nick in the pleura and the nick in the lung? What does he say about that?
I'm glad you brought that up.
What does he say about it?
I told Jenkins that Humes testified that he found a bruise atop the upper lobe of the lung, and that was evidence for the bullet going all the way through. Jenkins told me he had no recollection of any such bruise being examined the night of the autopsy.
So
And
what?
that's actually a good point. No one else except
Ebersol,
no
Ebersol,
one. That's true.
Ebersol
That's true.
testifies to it.
That's true, but he could be just referring to
And
what's
it's and it's listed in the autopsy.
Yes, I'm
The
saying,
nick in the pleura and the lung and the lung are both listed in the autopsy. So Jenkins' memory is not worth anything.
so you don't think he's credible?
It's not the question of being credible. I think he's made a mistake here. I don't know whether he's credible. You know, I'm not into whether he's got a genetic defect here or not. Okay, this particular testimony is flawed. It doesn't comport with the evidence.
But
And
what
it's
I'm
just
saying, but what
it's
I'm talking about is that night at the autopsy, they tried to make it work. They tried to get, because they tried to get to establish a path through the body, and they just could not do it. They lifted the body up. They
how
did
did
it.
the nick in the how do you get the nick in the pleura then?
Apart from Humes and Ebersol, I can't find any testimony corroborating this alleged bruise on the lung.
It's in the autopsy report. So
I
you've
know
got
it's in the autopsy.
you've got Humes and Boswell and you've got Fink. You've got three people certifying it. Okay, you've got Ebersol
What
confirming it.
I'm saying is that independently, I cannot I cannot corroborate. I'm talking about what was seen that
You see
night.
why I say this is a paranoid enterprise? Because you don't believe the autopsy, and these guys are looking right at the body.
I
It's a
think,
paranoid enterprise.
I think
Why would you check any further?
I cannot find any independent corroboration.
These guys are independent. They're
This is
certified
true.
autopsy doctors.
Quoting the winning side is not getting independent,
What
getting
winning side?
corroboration. Is not getting
What do you
corroboration.
mean winning side? What
What
winning
I'm
side?
saying is, if you there's only one source
That's
for
a
the
paranoid notion. Winning side is a
I'm
paranoid
saying
notion.
this bruise is not 100%. We can't know for sure that
It's
happened.
reported in the autopsy. Ebersol confirms it. What do you mean it's not 100%?
Besides them,
What
I
is it?
can't find
92%?
anyone else. They're not the only ones examining the body that night. We have the other people. We have Dr. Osborne. We have Jenkins, O'Connor. We have
Jenkins is a doctor?
Rudnicki, and no, we have other people. Dr. Osborne, Jenkins, O'Connor, the lab assistant, Rudnicki. None of these people remember a bruise on top of the
It's
lung.
because they didn't do the autopsy.
No, but they're right there.
Ebersol was right there. Fink was right there.
I'm
Boswell was right
saying
there.
we
Jones was
can't
right there.
independently confirm that.
They are independent. Independent of what?
Confirm the bruise.
Independent of what?
Independent of the autopsy report.
You have a paranoid idea, Matt. This is a paranoid idea.
It's not paranoid. I'm saying
it's a paranoid idea. Okay? It's a paranoid idea. They did the autopsy. They were right there. They put their hand in there. They did this. They did that. But you don't believe them. So you ask people who are peripheral.
the only.
They give faulty memories, and you say, "Wow, I guess they lied about it on the autopsy." You have no evidence for anything here.
So we still haven't established, except possibly the bruise on the lung. Except possibly the bruise on the lung.
The nick in the pleura and the bruise in the lung. Okay. Then
except
Lattimore claims that there are air bubbles in the trachea from the X-ray.
Did anyone else establish that?
No, I didn't see it anywhere else. No.
So only Latimer established that, correct?
He claimed it.
Okay.
Yeah, he claimed it.
But
I didn't look at it closely enough because I'm not a paranoid. I don't think there's anything wrong with this case. This is open and shut, buddy.
Are you
calling? You got a hole at C7. You've got a nick in the pleura. You've got a
not at C7.
Nick in the lung. You've got a round hole shored up by the collar and the tie. You've got an exit hole in the front of the shirt. And I mean, I'm not sure what it is you don't see here.
Okay. So we have.
You don't see here.
Yes, I know all of your arguments. I was once a lone nutter.
You're not answering the question. What is it you don't see here? Why would you even question this?
Here's what I think. I think that a bullet lodged, and this isn't even controversial. This is basically what the FBI originally thought. I think that the first shot lodged in Kennedy's back. I think the second shot hit Connally I think the third and fourth shots hit Kennedy in the head. I think there were 4 shots. Now okay, so why do you think that the wound in his throat was an exit wound?
Because the bullet traveled through the body, and the shirt is right.
No,
The shirt is right next to the hole, and it's an exit wound in his shirt.
That's the very thing we're arguing, so you don't get
The
to
hole is the shirt is right next to his trachea where the hole is, and the shirt shows an exit wound. That's why I think it.
You said the bullet traversed his torso. That's the thing.
I'm telling you that.
That's the thing we're arguing, so you don't get to assume that. I'm
not
saying,
assuming anything. I'm inferring it.
okay.
I'm not assuming anything. I'm inferring it. You've been listening to Iaccoletti too much.
Why?
I'm inferring it. Okay. Given that there's an exit wound in his shirt, okay, and the shirt is right next to the hole in his throat, okay, and that there's no abrasion color reported on the neck wound by anybody at Parkland, even though they were rushed. Therefore, it's obvious that the bullet came out of his trachea and went through the shirt, and that the reason why the hole is small is because the collar and the tie.
Short wound, yes, I know the short wound.
Okay, well, I mean, what's your argument against that?
Were there metallic residue in the shirt and coat?
There's something there, but they didn't do anything with it.
In the back, was there some in the back?
In the back, there is it's reported by the FBI in the coat jacket. Yeah.
Was there any metallic residue in the shirt and tie?
I don't. There were traces of something, but they really didn't.
No, there was none.
No, there were traces of some metal, but it wasn't anything.
No,
it wasn't definitive or probative for this particular case. I read it somewhere. It doesn't matter.
What was the size?
It's an exit wound in his shirt, and the shirt is right next to his trachea.
No, you don't get to assume that it's an exit wound because that's what we're arguing.
I'm inferring it. I'm not assuming anything.
Okay.
I'm inferring it from the exit wound in his shirt. It's right next to the trachea.
How big was in millimeters was the hole in the front of the throat?
Oh, bigger than a bread box, Matt. I mean, really, it's the size of the bullet. They didn't measure it. They stood it open for the tracheostomy. Okay, so it's a small wound.
How many millimeters was the wound?
They didn't measure it.
This is a basic fact. What was the dimension? How many millimeters was the hole in the throat?
Did they measure it?
There was an estimation. What is that estimation?
I don't know.
You don't know?
No, I don't know. Why would I have to know?
This is in Hume's notes. This is a basic.
Well, it's because I don't remember it. That's why, Matt.
Okay, well.
Okay. Do you know how long Wittgenstein's schlong is? I do. Okay.
It was the estimation was 3 to 5 millimeters.
Yeah, okay, that's fine. Yeah. That rings a bell. So what's the problem?
That's way too small to be
no.
To be even the entrance. No. To be even the entrance of a bullet. That's way
absolutely not. You need to look at forensic science and look at wounds in skin. They can be smaller, often are smaller, because the skin doesn't get completely blown open by the full diameter of the bullet, but only by the diameter of the nose cone. Okay. Then listen to me. You're not listening. And then it stretches and the bullet goes through, then it contracts again. Okay. This is basic physics. And you don't seem to know that.
Yes, I do. I've read.
Well, you're not giving it any weight in the argument, yet it is the argument.
I've read all of Latimer's books. I get it. I'm about to get there about how he thought it was a short wound and how he did his tests and everything. I get it. I'm about to go there. What I'm saying is 3 to 5 millimeters. That's half the diameter of a pencil. Okay. That is very, very small.
It's not very, very small. It's just smaller than 6.5 millimeters.
It's too small to be even the entrance of a bullet.
False. Completely false.
Are there any?
What are you talking about?
It's too small to be even the entrance of a bullet.
No.
Very small.
Do you understand about how a bullet goes through skin and how
there's no metallic residue?
Listen to me. The diameter of the hole is proportional to how much of the bullet ripped the skin, as opposed to how much of the bullet stretched the skin. You don't seem to know that. Okay, and you can argue about this and and run around and say, well, Joe Doak said this. It doesn't matter. The point is that it's often the case that in skin, that a bullet hole is smaller than the diameter of the bullet, because it's not the full diameter of the bullet that rips open the thing, but only part of the nose cone. The rest of it gets stretched, and then it's elastic. It comes back after the bullet is through. And so the ripped part is only maybe half of the diameter or 3/4 of the diameter. That's the way this stuff goes, buddy. Period. There's nothing else to say about this.
Are you done?
I'm done. I'm right.
Okay. So what Latimer thought, he said it was a shored wound of exit because of the tie buttressed it against the skin, and how the skin didn't open up as much, and how it's small. However, there is a textbook by Dr. Charles Petty, who was the HSCA pathology expert in the 70s. And in his own in that textbook, he says that even if you have a shored exit wound, it will still be about the size. It will still be the size of the bullet. It will not be smaller than the size of the
It's simply false, and I don't know where
No,
you
I
get
can.
that from.
I'll insert the page right here on this
Look,
video.
I believe he may have said that. It's simply false. I mean, I've done an awful lot of forensic work, and you can look up in any. I've looked up 7 or 8 books, and they all say the same thing.
I'll show.
Often bullets through skin, the diameter of the hole is smaller than the diameter of the bullet, for the reason I just gave.
Latimer put this to the test. Okay, he put this to the test, and he showed what he got when he buttressed a tie against the skin, and it looks absolutely nothing like what any of the doctors described. It shows skin spitting out. It's ragged. It's not at all what people did. So Latimer, your guy, tested it, and it didn't turn out anything like what was seen that day. So the case.
I'm not sure what you're talking about. I looked at Latimer's experiment. I mean, he showed that it's not ripped open like a big wide exit wound. Okay.
Okay. So he recreated this, and look at this. This is his exit wound on the skin. This looks absolutely nothing like what anyone saw that day, sir. Look at this. He recreated it exactly. He buttressed the collar. Oh shoot! Hold on. Where is it?
No, I get your point. I find it puerile, to be honest with you. I think it's a puerile point. I'm not sure what to say about it.
So this is not what anyone described. That's not 3 to 5 millimeters, sir. This is spitting out. This is not what anyone saw that day. So,
is this Kennedy's body?
No, it is.
And why would one? All he's showing you is that the exit wound doesn't have to be gigantic the way it normally is if it were unshored. That's all he's showing you.
The wound did not look.
But listen to me. In the forensic literature, you can find, shored or not, often these wounds are smaller than the diameter of the bullet for the reasons I gave you on the physics of it. Second point is, where is the report of all the people that saw this wound of the abrasion collar if it's an entrance wound and not an exit wound?
I don't think it was an exit. I don't think it was an entrance wound.
Then what are we arguing about?
I think it was a fragment from the explosive headshot.
How does it travel down there? Tell me how that traveled down there. From the inside of his body?
From his head. I think it was from
the inside of his body or outside of his body?
I think it went out his throat, which would explain.
So it went down from his skull, down inside of his body, and exited out through his neck. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, which is
how could it do that?
Explains. I think it's laid out very well in Josiah Thompson's 6 Seconds in Dallas from 1967. You can laugh, but anyone can read the book, and it comes to a very.
I read the book. It's the science of it is not very good. You tell me how a fragment can travel down from the back of the head like that and come down here and go out through the throat. You explain that to me.
Right here. Right here. Okay, so I think that Thompson explained it.
This is anatomically rich, this diagram. Wow. Yeah, that explains it all, man. Look at that. It can't be false. Unbelievable.
I think that based on the lacerations in the brain, and if you read this whole
subchapter, you understand, this is nonsense, man. This is nonsense. Look at it. I mean, what's next? Daffy Duck, the Roadrunner? What's next?
No, I think that if one reads, and let me go to where it starts. It's the
I
subchapter
read this book. I read it twice.
on page, but the audience has not. So hold on page 51 on Josiah Thompson's book 6 Seconds in Dallas, under the subchapter the throat wound. I want people to read this, and it makes sense. It may
Because
not.
you don't know the physics. That's why it makes
may
sense. If
not
you knew the physics, it
further-
wouldn't make sense.
Okay,
If
that's
you
a
knew the physics of a
Okay,
bullet
that's-
going through the skin,
okay. You
it
want to get
wouldn't make sense.
That's a credentials fallacy. That's a credentials fallacy. So
You just don't know.
that is a credentials fallacy. Stop.
I'm sorry?
That is a credentials fallacy, sir.
There's no credentials involved with this.
committing-
This is a physics argument.
Have you heard of the credentials fallacy? It's a fallacy.
What's credential about this? I'm talking about the physics of the
You're
situation.
accusing me of not having been properly trained, and so therefore
I'm accusing you of not listening to the
That is
explanation.
a fallacy.
No,
That
it is not.
fallacy.
I'm accusing you of not
Okay,
listening to
let's
the
move on.
simple explanation
Let's move on.
that I've given you without commenting on it, because you're perfectly capable of understanding it, because you don't want to understand it.
I
You don't want to
think-
understand the case. That's what I'm saying.
Let me summarize what
This
my-
is a joke, man. This is a
Yes.
joke. Are you
That's
kidding
fine.
me?
That's fine. That's fine. I think that based on the fact that there were no metallic residues in the tie or on the shirt, but the fact that the fibers were pushed outward, which a lot of conspiracy believers won't admit that. I'll give you that. I believe that's true, that that something came out of the throat. I think the fact that it was 3 millimeters, very very small, and I believe that also because Latimer's test showed that even a shored wound would look like this. I think that that it had to.
No, what he shows is that
Let me finish. I'm almost finished. That whatever came out.
he's not showing what you're saying.
Can I finish? I'm almost done.
Oh,
Literally.
you're lying.
I think. Okay, I think that it had to have been, in my opinion, either the exit of a bone fragment or a bullet fragment. I think.
Latimer has not shown that that's the way the wound looked. Latimer has shown that you don't get a full exit wound if the skin is short. That's what it's in his text.
This is his test, and he said he did it over and over and over again. This is what he got. He never got anything.
This is one picture. This is one picture. Okay.
Would show the best picture of this.
I don't know what it is. To be honest with you, what I know is that it's what I know is
this is what he's.
It's smaller. It's smaller than an exit wound would
It
be.
looked nothing like this that day. From those who saw it, looked nothing like this. They said it was round. This is irregular and it's spitting out. So I don't think it could have been an exit from a bullet. And if there was
this round, it's going to be from a fragment. How does a fragment make a round hole?
How does a fragment make a round
hole? There you
hole?
go. Repeating my question again. How does a fragment make a round hole? Isn't it more likely that a bullet on my physics I gave you made the hole rather than a fragment making a hole like that? How's that possible?
And that's actually a good point, because Dr. Pepper Jenkins, he said that I think he was the only one who said that it was kind of irregular. So that would account for a bullet or a bone fragment.
Which is it now? Is it perfectly round or is it irregular? Which is it? Which one do you want it to be?
Is it round or is it?
Well, you've given both now. You said they all said it's perfectly round, 3 to 5 millimeters. Now you're saying this guy, one guy.
There were no.
Which do you want it to be?
We don't know really. At the end of the day, we don't know which one it is. All we know is
that's exactly right, man.
And that it was mostly round.
We do know that it was smaller than a typical exit wound for 6.5 millimeters.
No, you don't get to call it an exit wound. That's what we're debating. You don't get to.
We all know that it was a wound. I do get to call it an exit wound because the shirt has an exit wound in it. You think the fragment made that exit wound in it? There's blood around the goddamn thing.
It has yeah, because if you have any hole, you're gonna blink. Oh my gosh. Yes. I agree that something exited the throat. So we're in agreement there. We just
you think that this fragment went through the brain without hitting any bone up there. There are no bones up there, at least not for most people. And that was deflected and went down and then avoided the windpipe and just went out this hole. And according to the diagram by Thompson you have up there, It's going straight down towards his knee. How did it get to the tie and how did it go through the shirt?
I think it went through the tie and it went through the
How
shirt.
could it? It's going down at almost 180-degree angle. What's the matter with you?
That's just a drawing. I'm saying this is
Well, that's the drawing you're using. That's your evidence.
this is a I'm not using it as evidence. I'm saying it gets the point across.
What
This
point?
is
There's no
a-
point here.
This is a hypothesis.
It's not possible for a fragment to go down that way.
It is a hypothesis
Very unlikely.
to account. It's a hypothesis to account for the evidence. The fact there's no
Anyway,
metallic residue, the fact that it was very small, the
You
fact
see why this is a paranoid
laceration
idea?
in the brain. This is just a hypothesis.
Paranoid idea because the official version is not right, because this is a winning losing side. Your language reveals you. This is what it's about. This is a kind of it's kind of a quest for you, huh? Yeah, good. All right.
Sure. Okay. So this is Latimer's drawing. So like I said, Latimer places the wound higher than anyone has ever done ever, and he puts it at the level of Kennedy's chin. And that's his own words. And he pushes the bunch. He has this enormous bunch of clothing to the level of Kennedy's nose.
This is didactic, man. This is not it's didactic. It's an illustration of what's happening here.
So
That's
look,
all.
so we can do this. Is Kennedy's coat bunched to the level of his nose right here? This is 10 seconds before the shooting.
No, but it's bunched right below the collar. You can see it.
Look, this is
It's bunched right below the collar.
not bunched,
It's bunched right below the collar.
not bunched. And now this was taken literally.
I'm gonna listen. I have seen this many times. His coat is bunched. Okay, I'm not going to argue that.
His
That's
coat
ridiculous.
is not bunched to the level of his nose, which is what Latimer, your guy, is saying.
Who cares what he said? The question: what is the case?
Okay. Who
What
cares
is the case? I mean, you're arguing trivial things now. You're not arguing the case. You're arguing a war of some sort. Okay.
So according to Latimer, this hole right here.
I'm not going to waste time on this. The
Okay.
jacket was bunched. I'm not going to waste time on this. The
It's
jacket
not
was bunched.
bunched. Look, so according to Latimer, your guy, this hole right here is
Not my guy, buddy.
Kennedy's nose. Is at the level of this. According to Latimer, this is at the level of his nose.
Okay, that's enough. I mean, look, it's bunched. Okay, forget about it. Okay, there's nothing else to say.
Not bunched.
It is bunched.
Look.
Yeah, show some of the other photos from the parade.
Is this bunched? This
I
is on
can't see. I don't know what that is. What is that?
This is Phil Willis's picture taken just about the time he shot in the back.
I don't even see. I don't even know what it is. What is it?
This is Kennedy. This is the back of Kennedy's head. This is his shoulders. You've seen the Phil Willis photo.
I have seen this, but I don't know what it is.
So,
what does it look like to me? So what's your argument?
Let's go to this one.
Put the thing down where the thing is bunched. Okay, it's bunched right below the suit collar. You keep moving away because you know you're wrong. The jacket is bunched below the collar. Okay, this is not a very sharp focus picture, by the way. There are many.
Not bunching. It's not bunching.
Put the cursor right below the suit collar in the back. Below the suit collar, right there. It's bunched. You understand? It's bunched there. You see that gray? It's bunched.
So it's
this is an enlarged photo, so it's got exaggerated contours. It's out of focus. I mean, I've looked at these photos 10 times. There are a whole bunch of them that show that it's bunched. Okay, I'm not sure why you're arguing this. Why are you arguing this? It's ridiculous.
We must be on different plane views because look, this is where the hole was. And even if it's bunched up in his shirt is not going to bunch up because his shirt's sticking to a sweaty body.
What your point is?
The shirt also shows it at the same place, you know.
Because the one is up together. So what?
So really, the shirt is not going to bunch at all. So the bullet wound is down here.
So your position is that there is no bullet hole that goes all the way through, and that the hole in the front in the trachea and the nick of the tie and the shirt is from a fragment that comes down through the brain, even though the base of the brain is in the way.
Yes.
Yeah. Even though the base of the brain is in the way. Okay. All right. That's
even though the what's in the way?
The base of the brain is in the way.
The brain was never sectioned.
The base of the brain is in the way for a fragment. What's the matter with you?
We don't know what that showed because the brain was
We know
never-
the base of the brain was intact. It's only the upper part of the right hemisphere that's.
I don't think we know
is it?
that because
We do it. You can see it in the X-rays. You can see it. I mean,
The
you can see it in the photos.
the brain was
Base
never
of the brain is intact.
the brain.
It's in Thompson's drawing. It's intact. The one you're using as evidence.
We don't. Yeah, but that's a schematic drawing. We don't know. The brain was never sectioned. This is a basic fact. So we don't know a lot of things
Yeah.
about the brain.
The base of the brain was there. That's in the autopsy. I mean, they describe the destruction of the brain as being I don't know, they weren't precise about it, but it's in the upper half of the right hemisphere for sure. So the base of the brain is still there. Okay.
All
And
right.
the blowout is above, is at the ear level and above. So I mean, and there are photos of looking inside the head, and you can see that there's tissue there. Okay.
Here's one of my favorite pictures. This is Arlen Specter. This is famous when they're lighting everything up. Here's the back wound right here where it actually is. And Specter has to raise
Oh,
the
you're leaving
rock
out
up.
the buffalo hump again. So, keep going, and you're leaving out the
There's
bunch.
no buffalo hump. There's no buffalo hump.
All right, let's stop this now. Okay. Let's stop
Everything?
that. Well, because you're sick, man. You don't want to really take anything for, you're a paranoid. That's why you're doing this.
I'm
I'm not gonna
paranoid.
waste my time with you. You're
Wow.
paranoid. You haven't offered any
Getting into the
argument.
weeds. We're getting into the weeds. This
No,
is for the-
there's no point. I can say things that are obviously true to you, and you'll simply deny them and
No.
cite somebody.
We
No,
haven't, no.
it's-
So
it's-
you
that's
still
hard.
haven't, you still haven't answered this question. Other than the lung, the pleura, other than possibly that, I'm willing to take you at your word to accept that at their word that that's true, even though no one else saw it. But even if so, other than that, I don't see any evidence. There's no evidence that a bullet traversed the torso. All we can say,
how do you account for the elongated wound in Connally's back?
oh, we haven't even gotten there yet. So you think that
Look, I know we haven't gotten there. Just answer the question.
there was no elongated wound in his back?
It's listed by Shaw as he estimates it at 15 millimeters in length.
15, how many
Millimeters in length, yeah.
How many centimeters?
And the scar itself is about 3 centimeters.
So here's Connally's clothing. Is this the bullet?
No, I'm talking about his back. Okay. Anything can happen in fabric. Okay.
It was
I'm
1.5
I'm talking about his back.
1.5 centimeters.
15 millimeters.
1.5 centimeters. So what Latimer always said is that it was 3 centimeters, is that the bullet tumbled and traveled sideways and hit Connally's back sideways, the length of the bullet, and then it was 3 centimeters long. But
No, he didn't say the length of the bullet. He said that.
Yes, he said exactly.
No, he didn't. He
Oh, I
said
can
3.
hear. Let me pull it
He
up.
said 3 centimeters. Okay.
Yes, that's almost the length of the bullet.
But he didn't report it as the length of the bullet. He reported it as 3 centimeters and reported it because that's what. Listen to me, will you please? That's what's reported in the Texas State Monthly Magazine in January 1964 when they printed all of the reports from the autopsy doctors. Okay, and they reprinted the stuff from the from Parkland. That Shaw's got it in there, and he says that it's 3 centimeters in January 1964.
So you think that Connally's back wound was 3 centimeters?
I don't think it was 3 centimeters. I don't know. I know it was at least 1.5 centimeters.
Okay. So what Dr. Shaw
So
explained.
it's almost 3 times the diameter of the bullet.
So the 3 centimeters comes from after damaged skin was removed. So let's see.
I don't know. I think Shaw's
So
testimony.
this is no.
Shaw's testimony is problematic.
I don't think it's not
because
problematic.
he
says
well,
it
he
was
said it was 3 centimeters, and then he says
it
it's
was
1.5.
1.5.
Which is
One-
it? He
one-
says it's 3 centimeters, then he says 1.5. Which do you want to accept?
Listen, and you will understand. Maybe. Listen, he said that he testified it was a neat entry wound, 1.5 centimeters, and then it was ovoid only after he removed the damaged skin. This is something he tried to convey. Yes, this is the volume 6, pages 85 through 88. I have it right here on the screen.
He's testified twice. The entrance wound, he lists that at 1.5 centimeters. And Dr. Gregory confirmed that when Josiah Thompson interviewed him. Okay. That the entrance wound was 1.5 centimeters.
Oh, we agree. We agree. It was 1.5 centimeters. But what Latimer always did, your guy Latimer, what he always.
He's not my guy.
You
keep saying that because, you know,
you're saying Latimer, this is
we're talking about Latimer. You're the guy who said Latimer was your bailiwick. Yes. So we're talking about Latimer.
Yes.
He's your guy too. He's your guy as well.
He was the chief apologist for the Warren Commission until the day he died, from 1966 until 2007, until his death.
I'm sorry. I think that's incorrect as well. I mean, I'm sure Arlen Specter was the chief apologist. No, I'm sorry. Wait. David Bellin was the chief apologist. No, Griffin was the chief. You get the point, buddy? You load up the language, you're going to have idiots believe you.
No, we're talking about the science and the medical. Arlen Specter didn't know
anything. Well, they're a scientist. I mean, really. I mean, Specter was a lawyer. He's very smart. He had the diminishing velocity notion. He knew about the difference in frangibility of rib bone and bullets. You know, I mean, this is painful because you haven't offered anything that refutes anything, and you haven't offered anything that you've established could be the case. The only thing you've offered that accounts for anything at all is a fragment that somehow goes through the brain and gets into the windpipe and then comes out, and then while it's directed straight down towards the knee, it still manages to go to make a turn and nick the tie and produce the hole in the shirt. Yeah, that's what you've offered. Okay. Is this what you call about destroying me? Is this what you're saying? Is this what you say when you destroy me?
I'm just letting you talk. This is
because
yeah. You're showing me. Okay,
look, here's the wound. It's over. Why isn't it 6.5 millimeters? Why is it 6.5 millimeters? Why isn't it 6.5 millimeters?
Can I talk?
Just answer. We're adults. Answer.
This is 3. The ovoid in the chart right here in the diagram is 3 centimeters. That is the size of the wound after Dr. Shaw removed damaged skin, because the skin is going to die away. It's damaged, skin. So he removed it away. And that is what was 3 centimeters. Now, what Latimer did was he took that. Oh, that's the entry wound. But no, Dr. Shaw always said it was actually 1.5.
Excuse me, sir. That's not what he says in the Texas Monthly. You should read that.
Well, he realized that he made his mistake.
Oh, now you aren't going to tell us that. Now you're telling it when I confront you.
Because I'm trying to talk.
So Latimer then didn't know this, huh? Latimer just read it, and so he used it. So Latimer didn't do anything but take him at his face value. So don't give him a bad name. He can't defend himself, but I'm defending him.
So listen.
I'm listening.
It was what Shaw made a mistake when he said it was 3 centimeters. What he was talking about when he said 3 centimeters, what he meant was after the damaged skin was removed and the size.
No, I'm willing to admit that. That's fine, but that's not what he says in the Texas Monthly. Okay, and that's what Latimer read.
He made a mistake. That's what I'm saying. He made a mistake during Texas Monthly. He
said he's allowed to make a mistake, but Humes and Boswell and Fink are not allowed to make mistakes. Okay.
I never said they made a mistake. I never said they made a mistake.
Well, you're telling me that they didn't say that there was a nick in the floor and that nobody confirms it. Well, they didn't make a mistake.
I'm saying that's
so this is a paranoid theory.
I'm saying that is a claim, and that I don't think that's been independently. No.
It's not a claim. It's a direct report of an observation by a scientist.
Is there anyone else other than you?
Claim.
Is there anyone? Okay, we're getting back. We're going back. Let's move forward. The point here is that during Texas Monthly, which you cited, where he said it was 3 centimeters, correct?
Yes.
He had made a mistake.
Okay, fine.
He meant to say 1.5 centimeters, as he clearly testified to, that the 3 centimeters was actually when the damaged skin was removed. Now, Latimer apparently did not understand this. Why? I have no idea. I wish he was still alive, and I could ask him about that.
I know he was. He told me. He said he didn't know what he recognized Shaw's weaknesses, and that if we get to it, I can point out to you the problem with Shaw.
Weaknesses?
Yes, please, just let me finish, okay? But he said that and as he reports in his book, he did say initially that it was 3 centimeters. He said, and that's what he does say in the Texas State Monthly, okay? So Latimer didn't do anything with it but report what he said, and in his book he reports the 3 centimeters as the first report, okay? So that's it, okay? So it's 1.5 centimeters or 15 millimeters. So what?
So okay, good. So you don't agree that the bullet made a 3 centimeter wound in his back, is that correct?
I don't know. It could have, but it doesn't matter because it made a 15
If
millimeter.
it was 3 centimeters, then the skin that he removed would have been much bigger.
Maybe, I don't know.
It's
Maybe
super simple. It's super simple.
Well, I mean, he got to the guy right away, and so it didn't have any time for necrosis to set in. So I'm not sure how much skin he had to cut away. You understand? You don't seem aware of that.
But the point is, and please let
No,
me
the point is that how much necrosis was there. That's the point.
But the point
much
is
you have to
that
cut away.
Latimer took this 3 centimeter measurement without giving the context behind it, and he said, "Oh, 3 centimeters. The bullet made a 3
No, he
centimeter."
doesn't. He just said that.
And you better let me finish.
Well, you're lying about him, man. You're lying about him.
I'm not lying. I'm saying, listen.
He didn't do anything. He
This was
reported.
Latimer's whole argument. This was Posner, and everyone built off of this. Posner did.
This is a paranoid view of the case.
Bugliosi did. No, listen.
I'm listening. It's nonsense.
Latimer took the 3 centimeter measurement and said, "Oh, the bullet made a 3 centimeter entrance on his back." That and he says, "Oh, that means that the bullet was tumbling, and that proves that it had hit something previously." Kennedy.
So does 15 millimeters.
No.
Absolutely.
1.5 centimeter.
Hey, Matt, listen, this is the reason why I was reluctant to do this, because I knew this would come up to this. I'll explain it to you very quickly. I've explained this to a number of people.
No, we're getting into the
weeds. I've explained it to my 13-year-old grandson, who also understands it, okay? And he doesn't even know the case, okay? When a bullet hits at an angle in skull, in hard material, there's a force that's generated laterally when the nose of the bullet fractures the skull. So you get lateral forces in 360 degree directions. And so you're going to get, if a bullet is at a slant, you're going to get some destruction in the direction of the slant because the force there is transmitted higher up and the wound gets elongated, okay? In skin, you do not get that.
Okay, so we turn the page. Okay, so
in skin, you do not get that. In skin, what you get is a slightly ovoid wound with a noticeable abrasion collar on the side of the angle. So the back wound has to be from a bullet that's in yaw. Okay, period. Can't be anything else.
Okay, so we turn the page, and we also see on that same page on a second option that was produced by the Warren Commission, where they said that Connally's back wound could have been hit at an angle, at a tangent.
I just told you why I wouldn't. I just told you that's it. That can't be true. It's true. It's false.
So
Wet said that when he first saw the thing too. That's when I knew he was a fraud. Okay, he said the same thing. Weck was a fraud. He didn't know some of this stuff. He made claims about things he didn't know. You can't get a 15 millimeter over a wound like that in skin by hitting at a tangential angle. It's not possible. And there's no abrasion collar. There's no asymmetric abrasion collar. He doesn't even mention one, which shows you that Shaw didn't know what he was talking about. And he says in there, he said, "I'm not really a forensics person." Yeah, QED, buddy. We know that. The only way this one would be caused this way is that it was in yaw and it entered sideways. It doesn't have to enter full sideways. It can be in any orientation, just as long as it goes through. Okay, so it's in yaw, okay? And it's in yaw so that when it gets up to Connally, by virtue of the fact that it was shot out of a gun at 2,200 feet per second, okay, there's only one force on this bullet that is moving it forward, and it's the muzzle blast force. And it goes into Connally. And let's say it's in yaw so that the base of the bullet is closer to Connally's back than is the nose of the bullet, okay? And it's tilted a bit, okay? So that if you did a linear slice of it, it would be 15 millimeters, okay? So the bottom of the bullet penetrates the skin, and then it goes through, and the top of the bullet penetrates the skin behind and leg, and you get a 15 mm wound. Shaw goes on to testify that the bullet did not hit the fifth rib nose on. Okay, this is how the bullet gets the damage that I'm calling crimping. Okay, that's how that bullet got crimped.
This is Dr. Shaw. Okay, here. The wound was actually approximately 1.5 centimeters, like we.
So what? I agree with that. So what?
The ragged edges of the wound were surgically cut away, effectively enlarging it to approximately
I
3
understand that. I've considered that. It doesn't mean anything. It doesn't mean anything. It was
Can you read
15.
this right here? It says Dr. Shaw believes that the bullet which hit the governor had not struck any other objects because of his conclusion that the bullet was not tumbling.
But the wound shows it was.
No. So the guy that worked, the surgeon that worked on Connally said that Connally was not hit by a tumbling bullet. It was a straight-on shot. Period.
Why isn't this another mistake by Dr. Shaw?
Why is what?
Please, sir, just answer the question.
Why isn't this another mistake?
Well, yeah, he was
Dr.
mistaken.
Shaw has always said that it was 1.5 centimeters, except in that.
Except when he reported it to be 3 centimeters. Yeah,
Yes.
but he made a mistake, as you said. And
He
now,
did.
of course, so now you're saying that he said that it didn't hit anybody else, but he doesn't give any reasons.
No, that's flawed.
What's the reason that he gives that it's not? What you tell me what reason Shaw gives?
Well, he just did right here. Shaw believes that the bullet which hit the governor had not struck any other objects because of his conclusion that the bullet was not tumbling. He said it was not a tumbling bullet.
I'm sorry to say, Matt, you're swimming in a sea of personal anomalies here, and you're filled with contradiction. Listen, the main force on the bullet is the main force on the bullet. So whether it's tumbling or not, the same force is going to be on the bullet when it enters Connally's body. Shaw doesn't appear to know that, so he doesn't know high school physics either. He certainly doesn't know forensic science. So this is just nonsense. This is why people struggle. You got to make when you run up against this kind of stuff, you got to study it, man. You just can't say, oh, okay.
Dr. Shaw said it was a rather typical entrance wound. He didn't say anything about what Latimer said and all the other low nutters.
It has nothing to do with Latimer. He doesn't have anything to say about anything.
This is the whole crux of.
What's the reason why he thinks it's?
Can I finish? This is
no, because you're lying again.
This is the whole.
The bullet went into Connally, didn't it?
Connally, I think Connally was hit by a separate bullet.
Did the bullet go into Connally? Did a bullet go into Connally?
A bullet going to Connally? Yes.
Yeah, and the bullet had force. Okay.
Yes.
Okay, so would the single bullet have force to go into Connally?
It says it only according to the testimony, it only lost like 100 feet per second going through. Had it gone through Kennedy's neck, it would have only lost 100 feet per second per the testimony. And whenever the Discovery Channel, like we had up before, did it, they got it to tumble exactly what you're arguing, and it broke 2 ribs of Connally, and it broke the 8th and the 9th ribs. It didn't break. It didn't break the 5th rib, so it still doesn't work. So
no, that's nonsense.
They got it to do what you say it did. They got it to tumble, and it made a much larger wound. I wish I had the picture here.
Every shot that goes through Kennedy and Connally through an area in which the bullet from Kennedy could go into Connally, every one of those shots has a small probability. Okay, every one of them, doesn't matter whether it's a single bullet or not. Okay, so these guys do 3 or 4 shots in the demonstration and they don't reproduce the rib thing. That's the standard problem. This is an empirical case. There's nothing necessary. It's all contingent. This is not a refutation at all.
This test,
this is not a refutation.
They aligned everything perfectly.
No, they didn't. They don't even have the hump up there. They haven't aligned everything.
There is no hump.
It's in the photos. It's in the photo you showed me.
No, there is no hump. That's something Latimer convinced himself.
No, it's in his. It's you can see it in the photo that you did put up. The one
you're the only.
The back of his neck. You put the cursor on it. The back of his neck is higher than his trachea.
I should say now,
they haven't done that. They've got the head up here. Look at where they put it in down in the back. Look at it. That's not what it was. It was higher.
I should say now that Latimer is the only one who postulated about this buffalo hump. So apparently you and him are the only one who agree to this buffalo hump. It's not mentioned in.
No, it's in the medical literature. It's
No
a
one else-
standard
no one
standard
else
side effect from cortisone
agrees with
use.
this.
Kennedy was
No-
on cortisone for years.
No one talks about this. No other lone nutter agrees with this.
Well, you don't talk about the yard bullet either. You don't talk about the way that a bullet can stretch skin rather than pierce it. You don't talk about the force that moves a bullet in your or a tumbling
So
bullet
right here,
through Connally. You don't say anything about it.
so
You
in this
just keep
test,
saying, "Well, Dr. Petty said this," or someone said. So what's new? You're avoiding the case.
point is the same. They got the bullet to tumble here, and it broke 2 ribs. And it didn't even break the 5th rib. It broke the 8th and the 9th rib.
Depends on how it's oriented. The bullet can
They
tumble any number.
orient it exactly.
No, it isn't. Not it isn't. No,
And
it
the
isn't.
bullet was bent in half.
No, it isn't. Listen. There's no way to tell what the orientation of the bullet is after it gets through the body. Okay, it's just. I mean, he testifies that the bullet that went through Connally did not go through the rib, but went along the rib and ripped it out because the intercostal tissue above and below the rib was not disturbed. Okay, so that's simple. In this example here, they've got the entrance in the wrong place. And so it's not a duplication, okay? Plus, the probability of duplicating the exact shot is maybe 1 out of 300 or 1 out of 400, if you could do that. And you'd have to do it through the same body. I mean, this is just basic science,
This is so this is Latimer's test right here. Hold on. This is
Yeah,
hold on.
and Haig and Haig have shown that the bullet tumbles as well by going through gelatin. You've seen those, right? You've seen those, right?
Exactly. Had
Yes,
the had a bullet traversed Kennedy's torso, had it done that, it would have hit Connally sideways. But
It hits kindly sideways.
But Connally was not hit
It
sideways.
hits kindly sideways. That's why it's a 15 millimeter hole. Hey, listen, it hit Connally sideways. If it didn't hit Connally sideways, then the hole would be 6.5 millimeters.
So this is what Latimer claimed. This is one of Latimer's tests. He claimed it went in sideways, keyhole. He also used the term butterfly, figure 8, whatever. He said it went in keyhole. So if we look at this, and then we look at Connally's clothes, which is, oh damn, hold on, which is right here. It's not keyhole. This is your guy. This is Latimer saying
It's not my guy. And if you say that again, I'm just going to hang up on you. It's not my guy. He's your guy. You're the expert on Latimer. You all give him authority. Listen, go back to Connolly's jacket again, okay? All right. What this picture on the left? You don't think that's elongated?
No.
Why isn't it 6.5 circle? Why isn't it 6.5 circle?
It's not keyhole. This is
why isn't it a 6 point? Go back, leave it up there so people can see. Why isn't this a 6.5 circle in the fabric?
I think it hit at an angle, at a tangent, because we turned the page in the Warner report and they said, and if it did not yaw and hit,
if it hit at an angle, then it wouldn't have gone through and hit Connally's rib.
Exactly. I
would
think
have gone somewhere else.
So I think it hit at a tangent, but this is not keyhole, which is what Dr. Latimer is claiming.
Well, look, the world is round, but it's not a perfect circle. You're not really understanding this. This is not an argument you're making. It's a kind of pathological literalness.
Had Connally had this kind of a wound, just a typical entrance wound. That's what Dr.
We don't have a picture of his wound. We don't have a measurement of his wound. We have everything that is ad hoc by Shaw. It looked like about 1.5 centimeters.
He was there.
But he draws it as an oval, okay? Not a keyhole, but an oval. That's what he drew in the diagram.
So this is what Latimer claims it was. He says it was keyhole like this, and he uses the term.
Put up Shaw's diagram of the hole in the back of the testimony again, okay?
Right there.
Okay. You see, that's not a keyhole. It's an ellipse. It's an ellipse.
Yes, he said that's what he drew. That's how it looked after the damaged skin was removed. He said originally it was just a typical entrance wound, which proves nothing that the bullet that hit
He says it's 15 millimeters. How can it be a typical entrance wound in skin?
It's on a tangent. It hit.
Where's the abrasion collar?
where is the abrasion code? It was destroyed. It was
He
destroyed.
doesn't report it.
It was
Why doesn't he
destroyed.
report it? And if it was, if this is a hole from a bullet that was on a tangent, then it would go somewhere else, okay? And it wouldn't destroy his rib.
Of course,
Okay.
there would be an abrasion color because
You can't get a hole like that in skin for the same. You can't get it. It's not like the head. It's if the bullet went in at a tangent and it was nose first, the size of the hole would be the size of the diameter of the bullet with a little rubbing on the side of the shallower angle. It wouldn't be elongated in any way because it's only the nose that pierces the skin, not the side of the bullet. So you're not going to get elongated wound. That's in the forensic science. Shaw didn't know this. He's arguing that this comes from a tangential shot. It's impossible. Weck said the same thing in 74. It's nonsense. It's not true. And you know, they have no physics to back it up. Like he's got no physics to back up why a tumbling bullet would have less force than a bullet head on. The force is going to be essentially the same. You just got a little wind resistance for a bullet in yaw over a distance of about 3 to 4 feet. It's not going to be much different. So what he says is not true. You just believe it because you want it to be true.
So all I can say to this is that
you believe it because you want it to be true. That's what you're saying.
So what I'm saying is that this is the whole. I'm speaking to the audience here. This is a big crux, if not the crux, of the single bullet theory. How lone nutters, starting with Latimer, and then Posner built off of it, and then Bugliosi, and then Swanson, and all these people say that, oh, it hit Connally sideways, and that's what they say. It hit Connally sideways like this keyhole. Mm-hmm. But Dr. Shaw said that before he cut the skin away, he said that originally it was like this. And he said, quote, a typical entrance wound. And he says right here, it was not tumbling. He's
got no evidence that it wasn't tumbling.
Because of what he saw. He's
contradicted himself.
He said he believed that the bullet which hit the governor had not struck any other objects.
Again, my 13-year-old grandson understands this.
So, as I'm trying to,
I don't even know what this is. What is this?
This is one of Latimer's tests. Latimer said, had it looked like that, had the bullet not hit Kennedy and had just hit Connally straight on, had only hit Connally, it would have looked like this. But Latimer says that the wound actually looked like this, but we know it did not because of the holes not only in his clothing, but what Dr. Shaw saw.
He's got Shaw's diagram up there in his book. It takes it for what Shaw says it is, a 15-millimeter oval hole. That's the
not 15 millimeter. That's like 3 centimeters. Latimer said it was 3 centimeters.
We're agreeing that he was using Shaw's mistake. We agree on that, okay?
Okay.
The point is, it's a 15-millimeter hole, and the diagram up there that Latimer used is from testimony where Latimer says it's 15 millimeters. So nobody's doing anything here except you misrepresenting this, okay? It's a 15-millimeter oval hole. Can only be produced in this particular situation by a bullet that goes in somewhat sideways. It can't be a nose-on shot from an angle because there's no collar, and you cannot get the skin to elongate to 15 millimeters by rubbing it on the side. The skin is only broken by the nose of the cone. So you don't know this, and so you're chasing your shadow here.
If you can't get the bullet through Kennedy, then it can't hit Connally. And we've never so far I don't think, except
there's no other place for Connally to be hit except through Kennedy. If it was a tangential shot, and if a tangential shot could rip out a 15-millimeter hole, it could only do it if the bullet was rubbing along the skin for 15 millimeters, which means that and Shaw draws it in a perfectly vertical orientation. So the assassin is either standing on Connally's right shoulder or he's underneath JFK's feet. Okay, there's your theory, buddy, right there.
What was the trajectory through Connally's body established by his doctors?
It's from the hole to the ribs and out the nipple. Okay,
No,
whatever it is.
no. Sorry, what degrees was it? What?
Whatever it is,
27 degrees.
Yeah, well, 37 degree, a bullet going nose first at 37 degrees is not going to rip a 15 mm
So
hole.
we have 17
It's not
degrees.
going to rip a 15 mm hole.
So we have So we have 17 degrees coming downward through Kennedy, and there's 11 degree upward through Kennedy from the back wound to the throat wound. And then we have 27 degrees downward to Connally. It's a roller coaster. If it was true, it can't happen.
I don't know what you think you're computing here, but it seems like gobbledygook to me.
No.
Well, I mean, listen, the bullet goes.
We agreed at the beginning. The
bullet hits his rib, so it's going to be changed direction.
No, we're not talking about the rib to the thigh.
Well, you know the difference in height between Connally and JFK?
You said it was about 3 feet, so I would agree with that. Okay. Oh.
It's 3 feet between the men or so. Okay. But I haven't calculated this, okay? Because I don't think anybody is lying in here. Okay, so that's all there is to it. There's a trachea, and then there's an entrance wound down by Connally's armpit. We know that Connally is 3 inches lower in the jump seat, okay? We also know that Connally is significantly taller than Kennedy. So what is the difference in height from the floor of the limousine between Connally's entrance wound in the back and Kennedy's trachea? That's what I asked you.
I'm not sure.
Because you said 27 degrees is really kind of odd, isn't it? So I'm going to say, well, what are the heights? So I don't know whether it's odd or not. Why is it odd?
We're assuming this is a straight.
Why is it odd?
We're assuming this is a straight line, correct?
No, it's not a straight line. Why would it be a straight line? Bullets never travel in straight lines. Never. They all have what Sturtevant calls some lift to them. Okay.
Well, that's how the straight line is, and all the lone nut diagrams. It's a straight line.
It's not a straight line.
Yeah.
No,
it's a straight line according to all of the lone nut books. They say, oh, that's what lone nutter says. Oh, it's not.
You must know the standard demonstration from high school physics, where they've got an object hooked to a magnet, and you've got a gun aimed at the magnet from, let's say, 20 feet away, and it's got the magnet is much higher than the gun, so you've got the gun trained right on the magnet. And if you shoot the gun, then the bullet is going to hit the object that's held by the magnet. If you let go of the magnet and shoot the gun, it's still going to hit it, because the bullet is subject to gravity. So they never go in straight lines. Okay.
Here's just one lone nut diagram. This is by Todd Vaughn, our friend Todd Vaughn, that he drew. And it's a straight, this is what he's saying. He says it's a straight line. He says it's a straight line.
This is again, using your words, this is a schematic. I mean, you've got Josiah Thompson, with your evidence, having a fragment go through a brain, go around the brain, when it couldn't possibly go around the brain, had to go through the brain. So okay. I mean, it's a schematic. That's all.
So do you agree with this diagram?
What is there to agree with? What do you want me to agree with?
Well, this is
that it's a straight line. It's not a straight line. It's not a straight line anywhere.
There's an interesting dynamic that's going on.
There's never a straight line. It's not a straight line when it hit Kennedy's back.
There's an interesting dynamic that I've noticed going on. I've been picking apart the standard lone nut arguments, but you apparently have these hybrid lone nut arguments.
No, I argue almost exactly the way Larry Sturtevant argues. I argue almost exactly the way Nick Nally argues. There are a whole bunch of people who argue exactly the same way. I'm a little bit more expert on some aspects of it. Nick is more expert on
this. Okay, so the trajectory, as we've said, would have been about, would have been 17 degrees, not 20 degrees, as this shows. Okay.
I'm not sure what your point is here. You think there's no force?
I'm pointing out the flaw.
There's no deflective force on the bullet when it goes through Kennedy's body?
Okay.
It goes through the shirt?
So
there's no force of gravity on it?
We're not talking. We're talking. Listen.
We're talking about whether the bullet is going in a straight line or not. Why are you laughing? This is an idealization.
This is what all the low notices. Oh, it wasn't zigzagging. It didn't change direction. It was
Well,
just
the
a straight
zigzag
line.
is one thing, but to say that it's not slightly bowed.
We have
Listen,
17 degrees downwards into Kennedy, and then we have 11 degrees upward from the back wound to the throat.
no, that's nonsense. The pictures that you showed show that it can't be 11 degrees upward. You're
That's-
contradicting yourself now.
That's what Dr. Michael Bod said. He said there was an upward trajectory, an upward from the back wound to the throat wound.
No, he was mistaken. That's why he had the Kennedy bent over. But you can see normally that Kennedy's trachea is below C7. We said we had it up there. You put the cursor on it. I don't understand this. You know why you're denying your
This
own
shows
eyes.
the back wound above the throat wound. That's not true. It would either be on a straight line or slightly upwards.
No, it's not.
It's not. It's not.
It's
It's
down.
not down. It's not downwards like that.
Well, then why is there an abrasion collar on the bottom of the entrance on the Kennedy's back if his back wasn't humped? Yeah, you're not following the evidence.
So the
It's
bullet.
curved. It's
like you said,
curved. Sir, listen, it's curved, sir. You know, you're not following the evidence. You're listening to what people say rather than looking at it and saying, well, what can be happening here? There's an abrasion collar on the bottom half of the entrance on the Kennedy's back, which means that the back has bulged out and the bullet scraped the bottom, didn't go in perfectly perpendicular, and scraped the bottom and went through and came out as trachea, which is below that level. I mean, it's just the way he's built. It's the physiology.
we're not getting anywhere anymore.
Well, we've gone somewhere. We've shown that you have nothing to say about this.
No,
Everything you
I'm
say is
trying-
false.
I'm trying to explain.
You're not explained anything. You're trying to describe what people said. You haven't explained anything. You've described what people say, but you don't explain
I've
anything.
been
because
going
You
by
don't
what
get into the
the
physics
shows-
of it.
I've been going by what the evidence shows, how the
The evidence shows that there's an abrasion collar on the back and Kennedy's back. Why is that?
everyone agrees there was an abrasion collar,
Why is that? Why is there an abrasion collar?
because that's what happens when bullet enters a body. There's an
There's
abrasion.
an abrasion collar on the lower half, but not on the upper half. Why is that?
I'm talking about the bigger picture.
No, this is the bigger
Back-
picture.
If
The
the
bigger
back
picture is the
wound,
paranoia surrounding this case for 6 decades. That's
If
the bigger picture.
if the back wound does not go anywhere, and if there's an upward anatomical trajectory from the back to the throat wound,
But
and
you've shown
there's
pictures
no-
that show that that's not true. Your own picture
and if
shows.
if the cervical vertebrae and the first rib are not damaged, and the probing, like I said, then there's no evidence that anything traversed his body. Case
No.
closed.
What about, no, the case is not closed. What's closed is your brain.
We're not getting anywhere anymore.
No, because you
Yes.
don't want to get anywhere.
Yeah, we're not getting
You're not gonna put this up. You're not gonna put this up. People will point at the screen and cover their mouths and laugh.
No, we probably shouldn't put this up because it's not productive. It's all
Yeah,
over.
of
the
course.
place.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. I
No,
knew this.
It's
This
all
is
over the
this
place.
is tantamount to not doing it at all. Okay.
This-
All right. Listen, I'm gonna cut off now.
Th-
all right?
There's not. This
I
hasn't
I
been
dare you to
productive.
I dare you to put it up.
This hasn't been productive.
It's very productive. Everybody can see how wrong you are.
It's not about me, sir. It's about the evidence.
Everybody can see how much you don't understand the evidence.
No,
And you don't
it's
understand the
very
science behind it.
simple. The back wound was probed. It didn't go anywhere. They tried to make it work. They tried to make it work in every which
You
way.
haven't shown why the
not
hole hasn't
in-
moved. You
What?
haven't shown why the hole hasn't moved.
Why the
You
whole
haven't shown why did Hume's according to Ebersol, why did Hume point to the nick in the pleura as
there's a
evidence?
nick in the
Come on.
lung from somewhere. There's a lot of stuff in the body that was damaged. We're not just saying that just the back and the throat and the head were damaged. There was much damage all over the body. There were little holes in the cheek. There was a piece of shrapnel that came out the side of his head. There could have been one on the left side of his head. The strap
none of
muscles
this
on
is- it's
the
not
strap muscles.
relevant.
The strap muscles on the right side of the neck were damaged. There was ecchymosis or bruising on the anterior muscles.
How
It's
did
so it's not that just his throat.
what's the
neck, and
velocity
head.
of the fragment that came down through the brain?
I have
Because
no
you've got it
idea.
moving down there, right?
I have no idea. That's not
Then
relevant.
then you have to then you can't postulate that because you can't show it had sufficient velocity to go through the brain and get down there. Period. And why would a fragment cause that kind of elongated unshored exit hole in the shirt? fragment, I presume, is smaller than the bullet, right?
It would have blown out. Yes, I know what you're saying about the short. It would have blown out his neck, though. It would have blown out as it did in the Discovery Channel. It was a much larger exit wound.
Well, there was no larger exit wound here, okay? And there's no
And
abrasion.
Latimer's test showed it was much bigger and spitting out. That's not at all.
No, Latimer's test showed that it's not as big as it's supposed to be with an unshored skin. That's what he showed,
I
okay?
don't even think he gave the measurement on his test.
He showed that it was that the exit hole is not as gigantic as it normally would if the skin is shored. That's now standard forensic science. That's in the handbooks now. It probably wasn't in the 70s. I don't know. I don't follow the history of this. I can look it up, but I'm 86 and I'm not going to waste my time because you don't have an argument here. You don't have any evidence of what you're saying, and it's a paranoid approach to the case.
You were born in 1938.
That's correct.
Where were you when Kennedy was assassinated?
I was office manager in a patent law firm in 42nd Street in New York City. And the main operator, who was in a cubicle in the center of the practice, came out and said, I just heard a phone call that the president has been shot in Dallas and they think he's dead. And we all went into our drawers and reached for our flasks, Everybody was dead silent. And, that was the first election I voted in 1960. I voted for Kennedy. And my wife was from Massachusetts. And so we were really devastated, and the whole country shut down for 4 hours.
What about right now? Are you a liberal or are you a Republican?
I'm a classical liberal.
Classical liberal? So
yeah, I'm a little bit to the left. Yeah. I'm not a progressive. Okay.
I voted for Bernie Sanders. Would you?
No, I wouldn't vote for Sanders. No.
Who'd you vote for in 2016?
I voted for Clinton.
Clinton? Okay.
Yeah.
I voted.
She's a classical liberal,
I voted for Trump in 2016, but he was not the person. How he ended up as president was not the way that I thought he was. So
well, it's hard to figure. It's hard to figure.
So
out.
in 2020, I voted for Bernie. So
yeah, I mean, I can see somebody doing that.
Clearly,
actually good talking with you. Okay, it's good to talk to a live person. So you take care of yourself now. Okay.
Take care.
And don't forget me when you win the lottery, please. Okay.